The team's name is Syria, with the title of Proposal from Various Points of View for Reducing GHG. Let's give them a round of applause.
Hello everyone. Finally our turn has come. We are going to present a proposal from various points of view for reducing greenhouse gas. There are 4 sections in our presentation. We will proceed with the presentation in following order: the background, adapted solution, our proposal, and finally our conclusion. Nowadays, trade is rising again globally, and ships are back to trawling our seas, connecting places and people. But ships cannot operate without pollution. They unfortunately contribute to climate change too. In fact, international shipping is responsible for 2.8% of global GHG emissions, and carbon emissions are expected to increase in the future. This graph shows the carbon emissions by country. The amount of carbon emissions by international shipping is 6 in comparison with other countries. And it accounts for 2.8% of the world's carbon emissions. As GHG emissions increase, IMO has been energetically pursuing the development and implementation of measures to address GHG emissions from international shipping. According to current estimates presented in the 3rd IMO GHG Study 2014, international shipping is emitted 796 millions of tons of CO2 in 2012, which accounts for no more than about 2.2% of total emission volume for that year. By contrast, in 2007, before the global economic downturn, international shipping is estimated to have emitted 885 million tons of CO2, which represents for 2.8% of the global emissions for that year. The initial strategy sets out the levels of ambitions to reduce GHG emissions, provides guiding principles. So, the MEPC of IMO made for its 72nd session adopted an initial strategy for the reduction of GHG emissions from ships. The initial strategy marks a historic milestone of IMO's continued commitment to reduce GHG emissions from international shipping. The vision of the initial strategy is to reduce total GHG emissions by more than 50% by 2050 from 2008. Annex 6 of the MARPOL 73/78 includes regulations on air pollution. Although regulations for various pollutants such as SOx, NOx, and VOC were specified, but there were no direct regulations for GHG in the first document. After that, there were many resolutions to GHG regulations to supplement the lack of GHG regulations and research on specific GHG regulations was started by adopting initial strategy in MEPC 72. The initial strategy sets out the levels of ambition to reduce GHG emissions, provides guiding principles, and lists potential for short, mid, and long-term measures with possible timelines. The short-term measures, which could be finalized and implemented between 2018 and 2023, are considering and analyzing speed optimization and reduction as a measure. Improve energy efficiency with a focus on EEDI and SEMP and others. The midterm measures, which could be finalized and implemented between 2023 and 2030, are implement programs for effective uptake of alternative low carbon and zero carbon fuels. New emission reduction mechanisms, possibly including market-based measures to incentivize GHG reduction and more. Lastly, the long-term measures, which could be finalized and implemented beyond 2030, aim to make carbon zero emissions through pursuing development and the provision of zero carbon or fossil-free fuels towards decarbonization in the second half of the century. Now, I will hand it over to my team member, Haejin.
MEPC proposed a plan for reducing GHG emissions through an initial strategy. But we should expand the research in this field to encourage the discovery of different ways of reducing GHG. The alternative fuel method is currently the most popular way to reduce GHG emissions. The most practical and effective alternative fuel is electric propulsion. If the ship is operated with electric propulsion only, the emissions of GHGs, NOx, and SOx are all zero. However, this method is not a perfect alternative because it needs many things to be supplemented. It has extremely short time due to the low battery efficiency. To solve that problem, we need to increase the efficiency of the battery through adjusting the battery-only make-up power. Reducing unnecessary power consumption of the battery by eliminating the rock content will effectively increase battery efficiency. In small cargo space, due to the volume of batteries, is also a big problem. To solve this problem, we propose ocean thermal energy conversion. It uses the difference between sea surface temperature and deep temperature to create a working fluid and to generate steam by turning the turbine. It gets energy from the seawater, so the energy source is endless and clean with no carbon emissions. If ocean thermal energy conversion is realized within the vessel, it will be possible to continue producing electricity using seawater, thus reducing the amount of batteries and increasing the ship cargo space. Fossil fuel substitution has already been researched a great deal. In addition, technological development is reaching its limit and efficiency is decreasing compared to the beginning of the research. That is why we need to reduce GHG emissions in various ways, as well as the current direction of reduction focused on fuel improvement and carbon reduction. For that reason, our new approach is directed towards non-CO2. Non-CO2 include BC, CH4, N2O, and more. This accounts for only 2.37% of the total GHG. When calculated with GWP, they are large enough to account for 24%. In particular, BC making up the largest proportion of non-CO2 is the second largest contributor to global warming after CO2. Since GWP of BC is 4417, CH4 is 21, and N2O is 3 and 10. Reducing non-CO2 can be much more effective than CO2 reduction in the same amount. I will hand it over my teammate Eun-seop.
There are several ways to reduce non-CO2. It is possible to reduce GHG by developing GHG reduction technologies in other equipment, as well as engine fuel. For instance, first, ecoplasma system, which was developed recently by a Korean company, is excellent in reducing GHG. The ecoplasma system can save more than 50% of N2O and SF6 by generating maximum combustion by exhaust or fossil fuel and transmitting them to the engine. Another technology is the fuel heating system using TCMs. The engine's exhaust system is equipped with a catalytic converter to purify the harmful components of the engine's exhaust gases. If the catalytic converter is not heated to a suitable active temperature, it doesn't function. So, TCMs can be used to regulate the temperature of the fuel that will be injected into the combustion chamber early, in order to improve fuel particulate and spray components of the engine, as well as to reduce engine emissions. Next, the pure oxygen combustion system is a facility that uses the reaction heat generated by a chemical reaction of fossil fuel and oxygen to recover CO2 from exhaust gas for minimizing emissions. This facility makes the treatment of high concentration CO2. Finally, oil paints emit VOCs during working processes to increase ultrafine dust, which is the cause of air pollution. The use of water-based paint of ships significantly reduces the emissions of VOCs. Especially, China implemented environmental regulations that require the use of water-based paint. Ship hull reuse is a technology to dismantle a ship's hull when it has finished its life and reuse its materials to make a second hull. Ship reuse is one of the ways to reduce GHG during the ship design process, not a method of alternative fuel or operational improvement. Reusing 50% of a hull can reduce GHG by 10%, and reusing 100% of a hull can reduce GHG by 29%. The most effective part of the use of shipping materials are extraction, production, processing, steel transporting, and cutting. Without ship reuse, the same amount of GHGs are emitted during the creation of the second vessel. For the second scenario, by recycling 50% of the hull, the GHG emitted in 3 parts was reduced by nearly half. For the first scenario, by recycling 100% of the hull, the GHG emitted in 3 parts was reduced by 100% when we made the second vessel. We have presented our proposal about new ways that reduce GHG to make a better future. GHG issues are getting much attention now. It would be desirable to try various methods. It's been a long day. Everyone did a great job today. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you again, the team CDR, for your nice presentation. Okay, Q&A session will be presided over by the Mr. Park.
thank you for your interesting presentation. As my understanding is to the greenhouse gas, it consists of the six material, as you know. And so your presentation showed to me is 7% of CO2%. And so maybe 70% is, I think, is more over. And so according to the now is some the exact information about to the 2.6% of the global the shipping tonnage. And so I am also to have a plan, and so now is coming the 2018 and 2019 the IMO greenhouse gas study is coming, and so now is three. The third, the 2014 IMO greenhouse gas is the completed, and so I would like to point it out to one more is IMO is give us some method means of implementation to reduce the greenhouse gas from ships. One of the solution is to the SIMP, Ship Energy Efficiency Management Plan. Also on duty on board, all ships have to the on board ship SIMP, and so now is to the new ships. New ships is have a guideline from the Energy Efficient Design Index, and so according to the ship type is different to the linear the reduction rate. You have to take into consideration the kind of various the reduction the method the after you are some more the study and the in the future that I would like to say something comment to your presentation. And so it's coming to data collection system and related to the market-based mechanism maybe, and so post 2020 it will become to the shipping industry. Okay, now some clarifications, some the exact information is important for the our audience. Now it's going on to the have a question times. That this is a final the question opportunity, and so now is who is the first to the question? Okay, Master. I see Master, and the second C Fungan, and Masi the third. Is anyone? Okay, the first.
Thank you for your presentation, and it was very impressive. You've just shown several ways of how to reducing GHG. At the slide 15, there are solutions for low non-CO2 exhaust. Could you explain and clarify the spatial plastic technology in more detail?
Thank you for question, but I can hear your voice. Sorry.
Could you explain and clarify the spatial plastic technology in more detail?
That is high-level technology, so we don't know much. We don't have much information for that. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, next, the C Fungans, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the informative presentation. I have a question about the batteries of the solution that you've presented. Well, currently, the lithium-ion batteries are trying to be replaced because even the phone batteries, durability and the lifetime is getting shorter as the time passes. If you implement that on the ships, do you think it'll work in a long time? Or do you have any other types of energy or types of battery in your mind?
Yes, the electric propulsion ships batteries like our smartphone battery, but we means not use just battery. If batteries, we means batteries efficiency is low now, so we have to raise its efficiency.
Can I have interventions to your question and your answer is now it's time passed and so there are many energy saving devices related to the eco-friendly ships and so one of the solution is the electric ships, the battery ships is one of the solution and so there are many energy saving technology and the device nowadays installations for the eco-friendly ships. Okay, maybe it's time to go fast. I want to some more the question opportunity. The third the volunteer to question the Masi, you have the floor.
Thank you for your presentation. This is Tim Massey. I have a question about proposal number 3. In terms of safety of ships, I think reusing the ship's hulls is quite dangerous, and like an old vessel will not be a good condition to be reused. So, how do you think about my opinions?
Thank you for your question. But we means not all ships will be used. It means about design stage. At design stage, we consider about ship reuse. Not for whole vessel, but ships hull is only considered.
Thank you.
Okay, next to Noxbury. Yeah, Stocksbury, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Syria, to wonderful presentation. I have one question because you proposed to IMO the technical solution to reduce GHG, but however, I thought that IMO is kind of international community, which cannot support the specific industry or specific techniques. So, well, you proposed the many solutions. So, what do you think how IMO should do on the regulation to follow your proposal? I mean,
Could you repeat, please? Sorry.
okay, I thought that IMO cannot support the techniques or specific the industry. So, what do you think how IMO should do on the regulation or change the regulation something to follow your proposal? What do you think?
As I know, IMO don't have specific plans about non-CO2. We want to make clarifying it for regulations. For instance, some of regulations or resolutions like this.
Thank you.
Okay, because of the time constraint, and so one more. Your Utopia. This is the last question.
Thank you, Chair. This is Team Utopia. The solutions proposed, are they mandatory?
Sorry?
The solutions you propose, do you propose it as mandatory for all ships?
Sorry, I can't understand.
Can I interventions to the question is to the do you think about your proposal is mandatory actions for the shipping industry? You know?
Yes, we think like that.
Okay, thank you. The question and one more question to the judge panel.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And thank you for the presentation on the GHG reduction. I heard the proposals in your presentation, and number 1 and 2 and 3. And then number 3 is the difference from the some other source. And I think the proposal number 1 is well known to the world. So my question is there any your own idea among the proposal listed here? For example, the proposal number 2 have 4 elements, ecoplasma system and 4 oxygen, something like that.
No, thank you for question, but I got this information on R&D Center for non-CO2 reducing center.
So for the measures to reduce the GHG, there is no your own idea in the presentation. Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you for the CDO. This is the last the presentation and question and answer time. All day long, you have a very good the support and contribution and presentation. We our judgment panel is give some big applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The time here.